I think there are many singers that are not great singers, but they have to learn to deliver back to the lyrics, back to the story. If you tell the story and your facial expressions and your head and your heart are into that story, that gets across to the audience. And maybe you're not a great singer. I don't think you have to be a great singer to send the message sincerely and realistically to the audience.
Hello, and welcome to Not Born Yesterday, a podcast dedicated to older adults and the challenges and joys of aging. I'm Miriam Goodman.
Not Born Yesterday is brought to you by Next Village SF, a local nonprofit providing older adults in the Northeast neighborhood of San Francisco with support to help age in place. I'm Lynn Winter-Gross.
Today on Not Born Yesterday, we're talking about entertainment and longevity. It's a bit of a break from our usual serious topics, but we think our guest is rather special. Marilyn Maye, a jazz and cabaret singer, is 94 years old. She still has her voice and is still working. She started her musical training with her mother when she was 7 years old, and by the time she was 14, she had her own radio program. She went on to sing for a local jingle company and then sang in nightclubs all over the country for many years. For those of you too young to remember Steve Allen or Johnny Carson, Allen hosted a TV variety show from the late 1950s to the early 60s, and Carson was the host of the original Tonight Show on late-night television for 30 years, from the 60s to the 90s. Both men helped a lot of entertainers just starting out to be seen by national audiences. Ms. Maye was a repeat guest on both of these programs. Now, with more than 8 decades of singing behind her, Marilyn Maye is still performing on the road and appearing in nightclubs around the country. Marilyn Maye, welcome to Not Born Yesterday. Marilyn, you've been in show business your whole life. As you look back on it, what do you think has changed the most when it comes to entertainment? Are audiences different? Do they want new things? Do they want nostalgia? What do you think has changed?
Well, with me, I always sing the American Songbook, the Great American Songbook, which are the standards. So when they come to see me, they know that's what they're going to hear is the Great American Songbook, and some jazz. You know, I add some jazz improvisations once in a while, depending on where I'm working. But we just did a whole show of Johnny Mercer, and it was interesting how how beautifully it was received. They just loved all those great songs, and of course I love Johnny Mercer. He's one of my favorite composers. He's a lyricist. He's not really a composer. He's a lyricist.
My mama done told me when I was in pigtails. My mama done told me, hon, you know a man's gonna sweet talk and give you the big eye. But when that sweet talking's done, a man is a two-face. He is a worrisome thing who'll leave you to sing the blues in the night.
It's amazing the way that the scene has changed. As far there used to be a lot of hotels that had wonderful big rooms, and we could work them with the businessman's expense account. I think that entered into it greatly. And that's all changed. There's no such very few hotels that have entertainment, but those are just brief engagements, you know, three days. And years ago we would do 2 days. I used to work at Disney World in Orlando. I was there for 3 weeks, you know, seven days a week, and so it's all changed in that respect. I don't think the love for the music, for the Great American Songbook, has changed. I've always done that, and we still are. And the audiences here in New York are just so receptive to what we do, and the fun of it, and the musicality of it, and the jazz aspect. They love everything we do, and so it's a joy for me to work.
I can understand that because I always think of cabaret as storytelling. It's not just singing, and people come
It
up.
is.
The stories that you tell are so great. And I know the last time I saw you, someone in the audience requested "Guess Who I Saw Today, My Darling," and to me that always makes me cry. You know, that song. I've heard it for years, and I just loved it. And
That's my most requested song.
Guess who I saw today, my dear? I went in town to shop around for something new and thought I'd stop to have a bite when I was through. I looked around for some place new. Then it occurred to me where I had parked the car, there was the most attractive French cafe and bar. It really wasn't very far. The waiter showed me to a dark, secluded corner. And as my eyes became accustomed to the gloom, I saw two people at the bar who were so much in love. Even I could spot it clear across the room.
It's funny because I always say they keep requesting it and they know how it ends, but they still ask for it. And yeah, I love doing it. We couple it with 50%, which is from Ballroom, Billy Goldenberg and Marilyn and Ellen. They wrote the music for the Broadway show called Ballroom, and 50% is you know the woman that is sleeping with a married man, and so Guess Who I Saw Today is the married man who has found somebody new. So I always think that there's the whole love affair.
Sure.
in two songs.
Yeah. Did you ever imagine that you'd still be performing at this age?
I couldn't imagine anything else. I wouldn't imagine anything else. The good news is that I'm still here, and I'm working maybe even more than I ever have, very solidly, because I've taken on well, the last few years I've started coaching people, and I sometimes coach 6 to 8 hours a day, various people that are building acts, and I design their act and create special material for them, and that's been a joy for me to kind of pass on what I do or don't know for the people that want to sing. I always say some people want to play golf, some people want to whatever, play bridge. Some people want to gamble, some people want to sing, and sometimes it's their hobby, and they love what they do. It's a great hobby to have.
Well, when you think back at the beginning of your career, do you think it was harder for women when you started out than it is now?
I don't know, because I'm a girl. There's lots of wonderful girl singers of my era, so I don't think it's harder for women. It's not easy, and none of it's easy. And my era, I knew Ella Fitzgerald really well, and I knew Carmen McRae really well, and they were existing beautifully. Peggy Lee, and all those people that recorded. I think the recording industry is not what it used to be. That's for sure. I would like to have recorded in the 40s, because that's when it was happening for the Great American Songbook, and then RCA found me through Steve Allen in the late 60s, and when my first album was released, I got a Grammy nomination for it, and the Beatles happened. so that was kind of the end of the Great American Songbook. Not the end of it, but certainly a distraction, were the Beatles. But now we're still doing the Great American Songbook.
You mentioned Ella Fitzgerald. Who else were your main influences, or was she one of your main influences?
Well, Mel Torme was my influence as far as you don't copy that. That's the last thing you want to do. But just to hear the kind of treatment that there again, it's back to the jazz element that can be inserted in a song. I don't know how I developed it, but I do believe in telling the story, as you say, Miriam. The story of the song is very important to me, and people know that. The nicest thing people can say is, I didn't feel very good today, and I haven't felt good all week, and I almost didn't come and to hear you. And they said, I'm so glad I did, because I feel so much better tonight, and that's the nicest thing that somebody can say, is that we brought some peace and love to them. So it's a great business in that respect. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. The dedication of time and energy is great, between rehearsals and then I take on all kinds of things that probably I shouldn't do, but this is all. I can't cook, so this is all I know how to do.
We know you were a favorite of Johnny Carson, that you appeared on his show more than anybody else. How did that affect your career?
We appeared 76 times, and he was so good to me. He really paid attention to when I would sing, and he just turned his chair clear around and not talk to anybody that was sitting on the panel when I worked. The band was great, Doc Severinsen, and actually I started it when Skitch Henderson in New York. That was the beginning of my doing the show, and then it moved out to California, and it was. I don't know that what the good thing was is that he would announce where you're going to be appearing next week, and or next month, and I think that encouraged the audiences to come. So in that respect, I'm sure it was a help. And just to say that we did, just the fact that he liked my work that much, that he invited me back that many times.
So to go from Johnny Carson to today, that's a lot of singing. How do you keep your voice in shape? Many of us, as we get older, are losing our voices. In your entertainment business, how do you keep your voice so strong?
You got to keep using it. It's just a matter of using it. I know people that's retired and then they decided to come back, and that's hard. You don't retire. I never retired. I never ever didn't work. I was 11 years in a club in Kansas City when my daughter was growing up, and we did 5 nights a week, and for literally 4 hours. My husband was my pianist, and we were there, and then that's where Steve Allen heard me and decided that I would come out and do his show. And from Steve Allen came RCA. They called and invited me to do. The first album was a full orchestra of violins and the whole thing with Don Costa, who, that name, he's a great arranger. He did a lot of Sinatra stuff. And Manny Album did the uptunes, and Don Costa did the ballads, and with a full fantastic bunch of musicians from New York City. And I think it's you just got to keep working. This teaching I use my voice a lot where that's concerned. I demonstrate, and sometimes it's not in my key that the person is singing. The men's keys are not my key. And I think that's one thing. How do you keep your voice? Is that you sing the song in the right key. And I hear people of an older age, and they're still trying to sing it in the key they sang it in 20 years ago. And you can't. You just can't. Time changes the sound of your voice and the usage of your voice. And so singing it in the right key is maybe that's a simple little answer to keeping your voice.
I know you teach a master class for younger singers. In fact, I sat in on one of your master classes, even though I'm not a singer at all. But I just wonder, you're so supportive of the singers. I really recognize that. And even ones who clearly didn't have what it took to make it. Did you have any kind of support like that when you were starting out?
Well, my mother decided I would sing, and she started me singing when I was 7 years old. you know, um, and I, those people that you think can't make it, it's interesting because their heart. I think there are many singers that are not great singers, but they have to learn to deliver back to the lyrics, back to the story. If you tell the story and your facial expressions and your head and your heart are into that story, that gets across to the audience. And maybe you're not a great singer. I don't think you have to be a great singer to send the message sincerely and realistically to the audience. I think that's a very important entity. There was nobody that, yes, I did study when I was 9, 10, and 11 with a woman in Topeka, Kansas. And she was adorable. Her name was Rosamond. And she gave me songs that were within my range. She didn't have me singing up there somewhere in the stratosphere. She understood what my capabilities were and furthered them for me. And I think that's with the master class, that's the first thing I say is, well, when somebody gets up to sing and they started out in a key and we hear that those high notes are not going to work, the first thing I say is we got to modulate, we got to take it down. And people, I don't know, there are some people that think, well, that's the same. They'll say, well, I've been singing it in that key for 20 years. And I'll say, well, you can't anymore. And you'll see how wonderfully you can sing it in the right key.
It seems like one of your messages, or one of the things that I'm hearing from you, we talk a lot about how to age successfully, is do what you love and keep doing it.
That's right. That's right. This is a very difficult business. It's it bridges on people coming to see you, being able to draw an audience, and the people hiring you in various clubs. It depends a great deal on the musicians. You have to have really good musicians to accompany you, or you can't do what you believe. So there's a lot of stumbling blocks that could be stumbling blocks if you don't pay attention to having the great musicians and the material. I think that's why I started coaching, because I would see acts that were put together and I felt that it could be better. So I decided to help somebody else. And it's been a joy for me because it's given me knowledge. Things come, you hear people work and you think, well, why don't they understand that lyric? And then we talk a lot about it and you sort of search your soul, and it's tremendous help to me also.
You almost included all this in your last answer, but do you have any advice for young or older performers on how to keep doing what they love?
I think we just said it. I do think that it's for the person that has another job and this isn't their main thrust. It's their hobby. I call it their hobby. That's a great thing too. Just do it. Just find somebody who coaches and work with them and just wherever you can sing. The nursing homes, that's great place to give and do, and they love you, and certainly you will love them. That's just the demonstration of it all. Just go any place you can to sing, and it will enrich your life. It has mine, but to take it as a career, I must say it's not easy.
Oh, well, thank you so much for your time and for being an inspiration for all of us. That was Marilyn Maye.
You must remember this: a kiss is still a kiss. A sigh is just a sigh. The fundamental things apply as time goes by. Yes, and when two lovers woo, they still say, I love you. On that you can rely, no matter what the future brings as time goes by. Moonlight and love songs are never out of date. Hearts full of passion, jealousy and hate. Woman needs man, and man must have his mate. That no one can deny. It's still the same old story, a fight for love and glory, a case of do or die. The world will always welcome lovers as time goes by.
Today on News You Can Use, we want to talk about change. While we continuously tell you that we are in charge of our own attitudes about aging, the fact is that our bodies do change as we age. Despite the availability of plastic surgery and the fact that we're all taking better care of our bodies as we age, the stereotype for aging seems to be a person with wrinkles, one who walks slowly, and may be resistant to change. But according to several recent studies, aging Americans tend to become happier, more liberal politically, and in many cases remain just as smart as their younger selves. Here are a few ways we can change as we get older.
Many people assume that as wrinkles set in, so do a person's belief. But according to a survey of more than 46,000 Americans, attitudes become more liberal regarding politics, economics, race, gender, religion, and sexuality issues as they age. Many young people already knew this as they began confiding in their grandparents because the older folks seem more understanding and tolerant of alternative lifestyles than their parents are.
Science has shown that laughing is good for you. Older adults still appreciate humor. The good news is that aging doesn't affect the emotional responses to humor. We'll still enjoy a good laugh when we get the joke. Humor is important because it's so central to social interaction and enhances quality of life and helps us cope with the stresses of aging. The downside is older adults have more trouble comprehending humor. They were less able to choose appropriate punchlines for jokes or to select the correct funny cartoon from an array of cartoons.
Another thing is we have more positive attitudes. Age could bring happiness for many people. Research has shown older adults remember the past through rose-colored lenses. They're more optimistic than younger people, and even the sick and disabled are just as happy as the rest of us.
Now the bad news. We become more distracted. If you have trouble turning out extraneous information from background chatter to flashing lights, you're not alone. As a person gets older, their ability to concentrate in a noisy situation gets worse. Then gravity takes over. The condition of your skin usually lets people know how old you are. With aging, the skin's outer layer thins, the skin becomes less elastic, and facial fat in the deeper layers of the skin lessens. While injections of fillers such as Botox can help, researchers are now finding such cosmetic procedures might not be enough. That's because jaw, cheek, and eye socket bones also wear down with time. The loss of this scaffolding results in upper eyelid droop, plummeting cheeks, and jowls.
And your stem cells age too. Underneath our skin, the body's cells are also deteriorating. Stem cells, thought to combat aging by replenishing older damaged cells, succumb to the wear and tear of aging. But attitude is everything. In the final analysis, how we approach aging and our ability to adapt are central to our attitudes. Change is inevitable, and those who accept and embrace it turn out to be the happiest of all, no matter what their age. And that's our podcast for today. Our thanks to our guest, Marilyn Maye. You can learn more about Next Village SF at their website, nextvillagesf.org. Our theme music is from Hook Sounds, and Jason Dahlstedt is our engineer. And thank you for listening. We'd love to hear what you would like us to discover and discuss. Please contact us at notbornyesterdaypodcast.org. Be well, stay strong, and remember, you weren't born yesterday. I'm Lynn Winter Gross.
And I'm Miriam Goodman.